Welcome to Decades. My name is Chris Rubio. I'm the host of this fantastic show. For those that are new, welcome. For those that are coming back, welcome double time to you guys. Thanks for doing such a great job sharing this on YouTube. You guys are doing it all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm seeing clips everywhere, and you guys are doing fantastic with that. A lot of great comments on saying, well, how did you guys come up with the show? It was just basically a brainstorm of a couple people. For those that don't know about what the show is all about, we're getting someone from their 60s, someone in their 50s, someone in their 40s, someone from their 30s, and someone from their 20s. And we're going to talk about things that you're normally not allowed to talk about. We're going to have those weird, hard conversations that everyone's kind of avoiding lately. But what we think in today's society, we need to lean right into them and go full speed. And at the very end, maybe agree to disagree. So let's bring out our panel. But we're going to start with the best co-host / editor / photographer / operator. I honestly don't know what he does. Welcome out Ed McAndrew, not McAndrews.
Hello, Rubio. Glad to be back for this, our episode 4.
Absolutely. We're going to start with our 20s. Oh, no, we cannot because Cruz Rubio is taking a final at school. So we're going to skip right past the 20s and we're going to go to our 30s. 30s representing is Joe Nolan. He resides in Philadelphia. He's an entrepreneur spirit. I still have to know what that is. He works in real estate and small business finance at tech startup and very involved in community involvement. What up, Joe?
Hey, Rubio. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Hey there, Joe.
Let's go to our 40s. We've got Jim McElroy, one of the top wide receivers ever in the history of UCLA. He's Los Angeles, California, born and raised, still out there, and he's an educator. What's up, Jimmy Mack?
Gentlemen, good to see you again.
Way to go, Jimmy.
Jumping right to our 50s, we've got someone from Idaho. He's a cybersecurity consultant. He loves the outdoors. Give it up for Jim Gingrich.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you.
And we'll round it off with someone from their 60s. Bill Geiser resides in Tampa, Florida, serial entrepreneur and innovator of wearable tech. He has 2 outstanding sons, and he's one hell of a swimmer. What's up, Bill?
Hello, gang. How are you?
Hey, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
All right, we're going to jump right into this one. We did a little trial run with this one about maybe 8 weeks back, and it got a little heated, so I'm expecting the same thing. Tonight's topic of what we're supposed to not be talking about is gun restrictions and gun laws. Do they work? It seems to me, just as the host, that you see the places that have the strictest gun laws seem to have the most issues with guns. Maybe I'm reading it incorrectly. Maybe I'm not. Or is there any way to even stop this onslaught of guns / mass murder? Joe, I want to start with you out in Philly.
It's a complicated topic. I mean, there's no question that our gun laws are irrational at this point. You know, it's really turned into a debate of left versus right versus a debate of facts and a debate of what is the outcomes we're looking for. I think, you see the right to defend your property and your family is enshrined in the Constitution for a reason, but it also says that it should be a well-regulated militia. So I think we've really failed on that second half, and the result has been a lot of unnecessary deaths, both here in Philadelphia, in major cities, and really the biggest one that, 50 accounts for 50% of all gun deaths is suicide. Men that just end up being disconnected from society and taking an easy way out in a moment of weakness. So I think that we got a long way to go because guns aren't, people always say guns don't kill people, people kill people. And I think that's really true. So it sort of shows the flaws in our society.
Joe, we're going to come back to you, but I want to come back to this irrational thought, or they're done irrationally. Jimmy Mack, what are your thoughts on guns? Growing up in LA, kind of like the deep part of it, you've experienced some things.
Yeah, but guns is the American way. I mean, how you think we got this country? Its independence through guns. We didn't petition the British government. We didn't, write them like love letters and say, "Hey, can you please let us be our own country?" We did it by, the use of guns. I mean, I was actually anti-gun for a long time. Then January 6th happened, and I became pro-gun. Because I mean, if our country was to be overthrown by a militia, to be overthrown by insurgents, it would go into chaos, total chaos. So I believe that every man has the right to bear arms in our Second Amendment right. And I believe that we have, there's going to be recklessness in everything. People recklessly eat and make themselves sick. So, I mean, people are reckless with guns, but we have more people who are more responsible with guns. I'm a recent gun owner, very responsible with guns. My parents were responsible gun owners. I'm quite sure the men on this panel are responsible gun owners. But when you have a society that has so many stressors and so many things that can push somebody over the edge, having a gun that's easily nearby to use, like we have our school shooters, our mass shooters out in a workplace and stuff like that. I mean, even if you put restrictions on that, you're going to restrict the people who use guns for sport, use guns for hunting, stuff like that. So it's going to always be that catch-22 of whether or not we should have these strict laws for guns because of the very few that are irresponsible. So it's tough. And I grew up in a very irresponsible neighborhood when it came to guns, but I survived, and the 99% of the people survived. So, there should be some things done, but what should we do? That's the question. What should we do?
Guys, what should we do, or just should we leave it the way it is? I mean, because like I said at the beginning, the cities with the most gun laws seem to be hellholes. I mean, is there anything to do, or do we leave it the way it is?
Well, okay, so there's a couple of ways to look at this. Do gun laws work? I think the question is, do gun laws, or will stricter gun laws, slow or stop gun violence, deaths? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Not even close. All you have to do is look at Chicago as the case against gun laws. They've got some of the strictest gun laws in America. Over the last 8 years, nearly 25,000 people have been shot, over 5,000 killed. Most of them are black. I'd say 80% of them are young black guys, and we don't do a goddamn thing about it. All these gun laws are all about rallying up the base. Joe said it's a left versus right thing. I partially agree, but I look at it more like the division of seats on a wide body airplane. You have 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and 5 in the middle. The 2 on the left are the progressive left in this nation. The 2 on the right are the hardcore right. They suck all the oxygen out of the media. The media follows them because that's how they make money. It's that 5 people in the middle that are kind of sensible. So I think people realize you can do a whole bunch of things with gun laws, and it's not going to stop a thing. It's not going to change the dynamics. The other side of that question is, are there things we can do? Yes. In my opinion, there are definite things we can do. And I don't want to go over my time allotment.
Okay, no. We'll
maybe we can go back to that. But I've got some definite thoughts on what this country can do to really put a clamp on gun violence. And it's not taking guns away from law-abiding citizens.
Okay, Jim, I know you're basically the most pro-gun of the panel. What are your thoughts on this? Do you leave it the way it is? Do something different? Start kids earlier with guns?
Well, this could go on forever, but first of all, there is no evidence, no hard evidence, and I have data to back that up and argue if we get to that reducing the types of guns helps. The first thing we've lost with social media and parents letting iPods and iPhones raise their kids is paying attention. I mean, this stuff didn't happen when we were kids. We all had guns. None of these types of mass shootings went on. So parents have to be responsible. The community has to be responsible. The village of people, if you will, has to watch out. You used to say, hey, that kid's acting weird. Something's going on. Now you'd get called a name if you brought that up. We don't watch out for each other like we used to be. And I will say, in behalf of the 3 in the middle and on the left, we talked about it before some of you got on a bit, and Joe's probably grew up in the city. We grew up with a gun by the door, shot predators, killed our beef, shot our dogs when they were too old now to die. You didn't go to the vet, but we were all trained well. Nobody had an accident. Nobody was shot. I now do sport shooting with AR, shotgun, pistol. It's a great sport. So we can get into some facts about this, but it doesn't solve anything. And Joe even mentioned that I think I only have 2020 statistics, but 49,000 gun deaths, 65%, not 60, were suicides. So you can't really count that, right? You can kill yourself a lot of ways. So take that out, and your gun violence number doesn't match up to anything else. It's basically off the radar.
Okay, so what we're going to come out to right now is, what can we do to fix the gun issue? Gun issue being where there's too much. And we're going to come back to that right after this commercial.
Hello, my name's Ian Hill. And when I'm not training to be the oldest man to play NCAA Division I college football, I'm the CEO of NGBN TV. Our mission is pretty simple. Educate, equip, entertain, support, and inspire men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's a one-stop shop for all that a man in his middle ages needs to be his best. So once you come and join us, come and be a part of NGBN TV. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to Decades, your new favorite show that you're subscribing to on YouTube and sharing on all social media avenues. Bill Geiser, I know you're chomping at the bit. Go, my man.
Okay, so what can we do to solve gun violence? I think there's a model for it. It's called the country of El Salvador. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's been in the news recently. What they did, well, first of all, just take a step back. Just a short few years ago, El Salvador was rated as one of the most dangerous countries in the world. It's like the murder capital of the planet. I mean, and the problem was gangs and drugs. And the government finally got pushed too far, and they said, that's it. And they declared war on the gangs. When I say war, they declared war on these guys. They've now arrested something in the order of 65,000 of these gang members. They built what they're calling the mega prison or something. It's 40,000 inmates. They're all pushed in here. The human rights advocates are crying bloody murder because it is not the nicest place in the world. But guess what? In the last year, 0 deaths, 0 murders.
That's amazing.
So if we want to really, if we want to solve gun violence, we need to declare war on the gangs in the big cities of the United States. And I don't know if we have the political will to do it, but that's the answer to this thing. It's not taking the guns from Jim and me.
Yeah, and I think I saw the El Salvador thing, and I'm really harsh, and I even said, "Good God!" Because they were saying how you're supposed to have 12 feet per cellmate, and they were doing like 3 people per 12 feet. They were really going over the limit. And there's,
you know what, Mexico is now looking at that as a model to deal with the drug cartels.
Yeah, I don't, as they should. Jimmy Mack, you had your hand up.
That sounds good in theory. In the United States, I wouldn't trust the police department to crack down on that. We did do a war on gangs. We just called it the war on drugs. If you were in LA in the 80s and 90s, the war on drugs could have been an innocent person like me going to baseball practice and the police stopping me and pulling me over, which actually happened, and asked me where I was going with a baseball bat, cleats, and gloves. So sometimes innocent people will get caught up in that because of terrible policing in the United States, trying to crack down on gangs and drugs and stuff like that. It was bad to see the battle ram, which is a tank, basically to knock down people's houses. Sometimes it would get the wrong address. You would be knocking down innocent people's doors because of having a cousin or a friend that's affiliated with the gangs, and they keep a record. Working with UCPD, understanding police database. If you are friendly with somebody that's a gangster, you get put into that associate level, so they can shake you down just because a family member. I had family members in the 90s that were like, "Hey, you're at UCLA. You can't hang out with us no more." Nuh-uh, because the police or other gangs will target you. So I don't know. It sounds great because Saddam Hussein did the same thing in Iraq. If you knew about what the government of Iraq and stuff like that, you couldn't have no gang violence. You couldn't have any family feuds, no murder, because Saddam Hussein would take out everybody in your family if you did something like that. So you were responsible for the people that's there. So it sounds great in theory. And I would be all up for it if we had really good policing and very good way of how we would deal
You're
with
right.
I'm understanding the war on gangs will most definitely affect brown and black way more than will affect anybody else.
Well, just to give you an idea, and you're right, there's this collateral damage issue that needs to be managed and contained. But last year in Chicago, you know how many mass shootings there were in Chicago? 473. 400 in 1 year. And you know what? All of them are in the inner city of Chicago. It's something on the order of 80% of the homicides are young black guys, and maybe another 15% are young Hispanics. So there you have 85 95% of the total just in those two ethnic groups, and the rest are everyone else. And so it's really penalizing the inner city Black population, and it happens year after year after year after year, and nothing changes. And that needs to change, in my opinion.
Joe Nolan, you're out in Philly, and I can see you're scanning your computer a little bit, so you're looking for something. What do you got to say about this?
I've had a really different experience with guns than James and Bill. I was 9 years old in third grade when Columbine happened, and we locked down the schools, and we started having school safety officers, and the whole country freaked out about trench coats when people would go to see The Matrix. People would run out if someone walked in with a trench coat. We used to care about this, and now there's gun shootings every week, and the kids have to yell just to get heard. We've really accepted that. I really want to challenge some of the things I heard too about do gun control work. The country or the states that I think have the strictest gun control laws are California, which has 8.5 deaths from firearms per 100,000 people. Connecticut, which has 6 per 100,000 people. New Jersey, which has 5 per 100,000. New York, which has 5.3, and Massachusetts, which has 5.1 deaths per 100,000. The states with the least regulation of guns is Alaska with 23.5,
the cities.
Arizona with 16.7, Wyoming with 25.9,
Okay.
Missouri with 23.9, and Kansas with 16.9. So if you just look at it empirically based off CDC 2020 data, saying that what is the firearm mortality by state, the states that we would associate with stricter gun laws have less gun deaths, and the gun states have more gun deaths. So it's hard to really sit here and take it seriously when you guys are saying the data doesn't support it, when just
The data doesn't support it.
23.
Data
Do it
does
on a
not
per
support
city
it.
basis, not a state.
Yeah.
Chicago's
that's
got 23.
Joe,
New
what we're
Orleans got
saying,
29.
yeah. So hold on. It's like this. So say if this is California, and you're saying California is very large, and they're 5 murders per 100,000 or whatever it was. What Bill is saying, I think is what he's saying, is let's just look at LA. Because if you go to Santa Barbara, okay, there's going to be 2 people maybe. Okay, but if you look in LA, same thing with Chicago. If you go outside of Chicago 10, 15 miles, it's all farmland. It doesn't even, outside, out of Chicago, it's all farmland. Same thing with LA, same thing with New York. If you drive across the bridge from New York to go up to, the hell's their state capital? I can't remember right now. It looks like Idaho. It doesn't even look the same. I mean, it's crazy. So yes, the entire state, and then you have Wyoming, who's got 9 people and 40,000 cows, but every single person's got a gun. Well, if you have 4 people that accidentally get shot or do get shot on purpose.
And that's why you standardize your statistics so you can look at things with a common denominator of 100,000. New York City has a lower gun death rate than upstate New York.
Yeah, but that's the left. That's the left feeding their narrative to this, because it's just not true. You have a chance as a child, because I lost a family member arguing this. Like, how would you like your kid to get shot at school? It's 1 in 1.5 million up to 10 million, depending on how you do the math. If you add in the number of schools and multiply, you have a 1 in 700,000 chance of getting shot or hit by lightning, and you got a better chance of dying at home, getting poisoned, domestic abuse. The only thing that works for gun control is to enforce the laws that we have. That mayor or that DA in New York, 67% of his cases are let go, acquitted. Most everyone that's committed a crime with a gun already should have been in jail for that. They're letting people out left and right for assault, battery, robbery, and it doesn't stop it. And if you want to talk about deaths, we're down from, in the last 20 years, from 10% to 4.9 people per 10,000, and we have double the guns that we had 30 years ago. So guns aren't causing the problem. They never have. And we don't even have the right to talk about regulating it, because it is a right not given to us. It's our right, and we have the right to never have it taken away. That's our God-given right. That's what the forefathers did. People want to start walking away from guns. We got a government that's plotted to kill a president. Clear back to Kennedy's time, we have them taking away civil rights from people, using the FBI as their political weapon. Why do you think they want the guns? They don't give a shit about the kids. There's people that die, because Bill touched on it, but I think let's see, gun homicide victims year after year are about 50% black. And
All right,
between the ages
well,
of
how about
15 and
this?
34 make up 2% of the population,
urban
but
city
account for
problem.
37% of the deaths.
Let
We
me ask
have
a
to
question.
fix that.
Should the cities
Go ahead,
be
Joe.
able to
Go ahead, Joe.
regulate then?
Say what?
Should the cities be able to regulate that? Should we be able
No.
to have stricter gun laws than
No.
the
Why does it
surrounding
help?
suburbs?
One in
example,
5 people
what
where I
kind?
live
Like,
has
give me an
open
example.
carry.
And this is what I mean. Like, as soon as you try to come up with any solution, everyone just says you can't do anything, and that's the problem.
Hold on.
Because
What's
it's personal
give me an
responsibility.
example of a stricter gun law.
Ed,
Yeah.
Ed, mute everybody. Okay. We're going to come back with what restrictions, if any, are needed right after this commercial.
Hi, my name is Harvey Laguerre, host of Men of the Prize, here on NGBN. On this show, Black men discuss our unique struggles, what we've gone through to become the men that we are today, and we do it in a safe space. So if you want to see Black men discussing our unique issues, give us a try. And if you want to tell us about your unique struggles, get on here and tell us all about it. Talking is the key. My name is Harvey, and you are the man, and you are the prize. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to your favorite new show on YouTube. You guys are doing a great job of sharing decades all over social media. We really appreciate it. Things got a little heated, and that's fantastic. I want to know what Jimmy Mack thinks about, do restrictions work? Can there be restrictions, or what do we do? Do we go back to the Wild Wild West?
Yes, of course there should be restrictions, and I think it's a simple.
Stop, Jimmy Mack. Okay, what are the restrictions?
Restrictions would be anybody who purchases a gun. First of all, you have to get licensed and trained. If you take the time out to get trained in having a gun and stuff like that, then you should be able to keep it. The problem is that we have too many illegal guns running around, and those guns are been either taken from somebody's house, stolen, given to them. I mean, it got bad in LA when we used to be able to buy a gun from Western Surplus. You go up there with your money, you buy a gun, and you're able to keep it. This was in the 80s and 90s when the war on drugs, crack epidemic was going on. So all these people have all these guns. They were never trained how to use it. They were never, some of them didn't even take a test to get these guns. So you got these old guns that are out there. So for the new gun owners, and gun ownership should be, I take that test, then I get trained. And it should be professional training, where you go out, you're going to go out into the countryside, you're going to be an instructor there. They're going to show you how to properly use a gun, how to store the gun, and all that stuff that comes with it. Because it's not it's not the responsible gun owners that are doing this. This is the people that are irresponsible. Anybody that's irresponsibly, they have a gun illegally or things like that, there should be an automatic jail sentence.
Okay, so what I'm picking up from Jimmy Mack,
that's how you get this stuff under control. No court punishment. Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy Mack's kind of blurring. Mute him for a second, Ed, before he zooms back in. So what I'm hearing from Jimmy Mack is he's thinking more of like a car driver's license type situation. You get a car, you have to have driver's permit. You got to basically learn how to drive. Joe Nolan, are you okay with that, or would you like stricter gun laws?
No, I think gun laws are broken in both directions. I think the fact that, reciprocity doesn't exist between cities and states, the fact that a real licensed gun owner can get arrested and get a minimum sentence just for stopping to get gas when they had to between the range and their house in New Jersey is ridiculous. But I also think that responsible gun ownership is key. I think you should have to have a national license that allows for reciprocity between all the states. So there's no more network of gun laws that just are used more to entrap responsible gun owners and take illegal guns off the streets. I also think that gun owners should have to get insurance for any kind of bodily harm that's done so that they're taking on the responsibility as opposed to society for things like medical bills, trauma, things like that. And it also puts a little bit more of a financial weight on it. So if you are going to be doing stuff like sport hunting or things that are going to need different risk ratings, maybe you can get different kinds of insurance, the way we've regulated cars. But I think that if you can get licensed and insured on a yearly basis, just like you do with your car, I also think things like, heavy weapons in major areas should be allowed to be banned, but not like in a way that you can't own them, but like it should be stored at a third location, like at a gun range where you can practice and it can be stored safely.
Hold on, Joe. What do you mean by heavy weapons? What do you mean by heavy weapons? Then I'm going to come to you, Gingrich.
Well, like I've got friends that have bolt action 357 sniper rifles, and they can just store them in their house with or without a gun vault. I don't think that there's many reasons for that outside of practicing target shooting. And if you were to have those legally owned and licensed and stored at a third party armory, that's a lot safer for everyone involved.
Jim Gingrich?
I could agree with Jimmy Mack to a degree. The funny part is, to me, that's common sense. Like, I'm a libertarian. I don't think the government, they've fucked up pretty much everything I've seen them touch, including the farming and ranching communities I grew up in. So to me, that's common sense. But since common sense is kind of by the wayside these days, then I can agree with that. I've never heard of a 357 bolt action gun. I own about 45, and the heavy gun brings up something. I am going to have Ed show this picture because I'm curious if Joe knows before he reads it what the difference is. Can you throw that up? Thanks.
It looks like one is a 22 shooter and one is an AR-15.
Yep, take it down. The top one is a AR, which stands for Armalite, the company that built them before Colt, and now everybody makes them. Not assault rifle, not a term. It shoots a 5.56 NATO round, holds a 30-round mag. The one below is a Ruger Mini 14. It shoots a 5.56 or 2.23 round, and it has 30-round magazines. It's used on ranches where I grew up. Everybody had one. Same capability, same possibility. So when you start choosing guns, heavy guns, or this gun because it has this much power, that much power, it makes no difference. I have all mine in a safe. If anybody even has a kid come over, I'll check all the doors and make sure there's none by the bed. Responsible gun ownership, I don't think can be taught by the government, but it is a step that they don't try because they do want to take them away. I mean, Jimmy Mack said it. I probably would be fine with having to go through a class. I mean, I actually am an instructor and have taught, but
You probably teach one.
yeah, but why do we have to go there? I mean, if you're stupid enough to think that you can take something dangerous and do it, then I don't know how you help them long term.
Bill Geiser?
The city of Chicago bans AR-15s, and they're leading the death count right now. So you can ban them everywhere else, and it's really not going to move the needle whatsoever. And here's an interesting factoid.
I got you, Jimmy.
I was talking to Ed and Jim before everyone came on. In 2019, this is according to the FBI data on homicides, they had a little over 16,000 homicides in which the weapon was identified. And do you know more people got killed with hands and feet than all forms of rifles, shotguns, ARs, etc.?
That's unbelievable.
You're not moving the needle at all by taking these high-powered rifles off.
9.78%.
That rhetoric is designed to charge up the political base. And in that regard, it's very successful, but it doesn't do shit. So if we want to solve the problem, let's solve the problem. But all this other stuff is a bunch of, what is it? A bunch of malarkey? Is that what
Joey B says? Joe, what do you think about that?
It sounds like we're all in agreement that you should have at least a license or some kind of safety training in order to responsibly own a weapon. I don't think any of us will come across someone who
I'd
is
agree.
a good owner.
I'm all for that.
And I think that we all agree that there is such a thing as responsible gun ownership. I think, I'm pretty set on the idea based off of my life experience that guns are both a fun toy, a useful weapon of defense, but they're also something that are ego strokers. And a lot of people fall into that third category in a way that leads to irresponsible moments of people that are generally responsible gun owners. And it's those momentary moments where guns amplify your potential for damage, which is why every school shooting has been done with either a pistol that you can hold and hide or a AR-15. Same thing with the Las Vegas shooting. Same thing with the nightclub shootings. There is a difference, and I understand that you might not agree, but like in a crowded population, being able to shoot an empty or a whole round of NATO grade weaponry, there's not many times you need that outside of Ukraine right now. So, I think we're all agreeing that our gun laws don't work. What frustrates me is, Philadelphia just had a school shooting. We went and passed a law that said all right, no guns within school property or near school grounds. And the state legislator came in and said, you can't do that. It's public property. You can't restrict gun rights. Heller versus DC refused to let cities add additional restrictions, saying it infringed on the Second Amendment. So,
Shooter going to stop because there's no guns allowed there?
Yeah, but Joe,
but you can't, there's no solutions outside of throw them all into a super prison.
I understand that, but Joe, do you really think, Jimmy Mack, I'm coming back to you, I promise you, that if I'm a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I'm smearing myself with peanut butter at night, and with my AR, I'm walking into school and I say the sign says no ARs 15s here. I'm going to turn around. I mean, that's just not realistic. Jimmy Mack, what's your thoughts?
I mean, if I showed up in a public place and had a gun, they said no guns allowed, I'm going to go back home. So, I mean, it's to be truthful with you, what's the problem with guns in our country is our culture. We love guns. I mean, some of the most popular video games are shoot 'em up games. We make movies, Die Hard. I mean, we love and we're entertained by this. We have made this type of violence fun. Rambo, First Blood. I mean, we even made a movie called Shoot 'em Up with Clive Owen. So, I mean, this is part of the culture of the United States. This is what we sell. So we got kids who are playing Fortnite. They're playing all this stuff. They think that guns is a fun thing. They think that this violent culture of the United States is very, very fun. And we are entertained by it. And it takes a very special person to not understand that this is just pure entertainment. So they get sucked into this lifestyle. I mean, we have people who make music about hurting and harming people. So this stuff, the stuff that we consume, especially in the media, can affect us how we are as people. So if I'm listening and seeing that, oh, this rapper said something about busting a cap on somebody and doing something like that, for the weak-minded, that becomes a problem. And that's who are people that are committing the crimes. Like Bill keeps bringing up Chicago. Chicago has a high crime rate because of density, and what Joe said. So it's a cross between Bill and what Joe is saying. Because you have a lot of high density places and you got people that are being irresponsible in their lives, not just because they got guns, they're just irresponsible in their lives. Of course, they're going to cause harm upon each other. So the best way to do this is that we have to find a way, one, to try to change that narrative in our culture. Not saying that we shouldn't. There should be more explanation to some of the things that's going on and things like that in our society, because we have really become a society that we admire violence. We do. And a lot of people, I mean, our most brutal sport, football and hockey, people love it. We sell out stadiums for brutality. Not saying that that's the same as owning a gun, but we are action junkies. We love the action. We love the adrenaline. I heard people who shoot guns and go, man, that adrenaline rush. Oh my God, that felt so good. Or it is a part of their system of how they cleanse. I was so stressed, I went to the gun range, now I feel better. So we have this society where you solve your problems by knuckling up, but then the ones that can't knuckle up, they will pull out guns and do that. We have our gangs who are basically ran by drugs, fighting over territory to sell and do other illegal activities. You're going to have these problems. And then when there isn't a lot of good economic prosperity, just being a basic normal human being, you're going to run into these things. So the culture of our country has to change in order to make things less stressful and less inviting for people to cause harm upon each other by using weapons. Like Bill said, people are getting bludgeoned to death with their hands and feet. There are people training, doing UFC, normal everyday people doing UFC training so they can go to the bar, get in a bar fight to break somebody's arms and be like, yeah, that's what I did to this person who got on my nerves. So it's a culture thing per se in our country. But I mean, everything that's good has its bad moments. And I think having gun ownership and doing things with weapons like that has its fun moments. But once again, it's the culture of the weak-minded and the irresponsible that turns something like that into something that's bad.
On that note, we're going to break right now, and then we're going to come back for part 2 of this conversation. Ed, take us to commercial.
Hey guys, I'm Brian Jodas with Pick Up the Six Productions. Join us every week as we share stories with you about people who have gone above and beyond through service, purpose, and impact. We're talking with incredible people, including special operators like Navy SEALs, Green Berets, and combat controllers. We also get to know community leaders, endurance athletes, and people that will inspire you. I'm grateful to be part of this growing movement at ngbn.tv with you, and I look forward to seeing you at Pick Up the Six.
All right, if you were like me, you thought to yourself, gosh, this conversation is getting really juicy. They better not end the show. And I thought to myself, you know what? Hidden Mind, you're right. We shouldn't end the show. So this is going to be part 1 of the show. We're going to actually make this a 2-parter. So welcome. Be on the lookout for part 2 of Decades, featured on the NGBN.TV network and, of course, YouTube. And be sure to keep subscribing and sharing. You guys are doing a fantastic job.